Hey folks, Scott Weingart here, and this is a quick wee. So I've been teaching Crike for probably over a decade now, and we have kept making the technique better and better, easier and easier. And we think we had worked something out pretty good. We've been teaching at SMAC for the past few years. And part of the technique, which is the scalpel finger bougie technique, was once you have your finger in there, you ride a bougie underneath the pad of your finger into the trachea. And then you keep advancing it until you get hold up, which is a secondary confirmation method. The first confirmation is your finger's surrounded by cartilage and touching the back wall of the cricoid cartilage, so you know you're in the right place. You feel the bougie go underneath the pad of your finger, so you know the bougie's in the same place as your finger. And then the secondary confirmation was you would get hold up, and that hold up would have to be somewhere with enough bougie in the airway so that you pass the sternal notch. And this was to take away getting hold up in the soft tissues of the neck, because I've often replaced trachs and I would always use a bougie or a tube exchanger for it, and it was very clear to me where I was. Was I in soft tissues and actually dissecting tissue planes, or was I in the trachea and therefore it was a nice easy passage? And so we extrapolated that same experience to getting hold up past the sternal notch, which would have to be past the carina, usually in one of the branch bronchioles or main bronchi of the right mainstem. And on Twitter, and I forget how it originally started, there was actually a question of whether you could get hold up past the sternal notch without being in the trachea. And this was intriguing and somewhat worrying based on the technique we were teaching. So the first thing I did is I wrote to Rich Levitan, George Kovacs, and I also wrote to Andy Neal, who is our resident expert in all things anatomy in the field of emergency medicine. And Andy put in some research. He grabbed some great big tomes out of the library and looked into this. And it seems like while, yes, you would have to dissect tissue planes, there's no absolute hard stop, like rigid fascial plane that would stop you. So yes, in the hands of experienced people, it's immediately obvious where you are, but that's not how we want to teach Crike. We want to teach Crike to the lowest common denominator. And if people were a little aggressive, a little adrenalized, it does seem like they could potentially get past the sternal notch, get hold up, and be entirely outside the airway. And where you're actually getting hold up is on structures like the pericardium. So, wow, that's a little bit annoying. Let's actually test this. And I don't have the facilities to test this, but my friend George Kovacs does in Nova Scotia, Canada. What he has is actually a cadaver simulation set up next to his emergency department. So in the course of a shift, they could get these incredibly kind folks who decided to donate to medicine and science. So now they have their postmortem bodies available to teach the next generation of learners, and George has access to this, and he could just set up labs and simulations easily right connected to the emergency department. And so during one of their sessions, they actually tested this theory of, will you get hold up anywhere else easily outside of the airway? And that's what you're going to watch right now, and then at the end, we'll just do a little bit of wrap-up.
This for Dr. Weingart here. Sam's going to we're going to purposely enter the right paratracheal region and then the left paratracheal region and see how it goes with the bougie, and then ultimately we'll go into the airway. So you're going to do a vertical, just going to stabilize.
So I'm going to stabilize the larynx here, and with my 10 blade, I'm going to make a large vertical incision through the skin.
Purposely, you're going to go a stab incision to the right of the cricothyroid membrane. So find where the cricothyroid membrane is.
So membrane.
Purposely do not enter it. Make sure that you're with a horizontal, as if you were going to be stabbing to go through it. Just extend it a bit there, and then the other way. Okay, now put your finger, replace it. Put your finger in to dilate. Okay, now let's put the bougie in. This is a rigid Frova bougie. And is it passing?
No.
Be aggressive.
I can make it pass a little bit with a lot of aggression.
Okay. Let's try to make it come this way. Let's take it out for a second. Let's take it out as if we might have been doing that Let's go alongside, heading down. And there's no way, there's huge amount of resistance for me to do this, and that resistance is at, this one's not marked. Let's take it out for a sec. The resistance is at this much here, okay? And we've got a nice hole, right? But there clearly is just, get down there further. And so I can get down there, but it would be an extraordinarily difficult passage. So we got down that far. Let's see what this one is. This one's marked. Let's put it down there. So every once in a while you feel a pop when you do it, and I think you're popping through a plane. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, we're at 15 centimeters. I'm going to see if I can, again, I can't imagine anybody, even with their adrenaline-seeking bit, you can see the distortion force here that's involved with that, right? And that is held up at 15 there. So let's do it on the other side to see that it's not the same. So do the same thing, Sam. Let's just, you can do a stab incision, make sure that you're not going in the airway. You can clearly feel it roll. Right? And I think if you hold it like that, yeah, or even hold it like a pencil. Yeah, that's it. And a stab right back alongside. Good. Extend. Pop your finger in, watch your blade. Okay, dilate it there. Pop that posterior, heading down.
Right. Feeling pretty good resistance there.
What's that at? Let's see.
25.
25. Okay. So that's impressive. And what kind of resistance was it?
I definitely felt popping through a couple planes. It wasn't as much resistance on this side.
Yeah. So it's
It was definitely
interesting.
more.
On the right side at 25, and at this point, whether we've created a plane, sorry. Sorry. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's good. That's why we wear a gown.
Thanks, Dr. Kovacs.
Yeah. So that dissected plane's down to 25.
It definitely didn't feel like a normal like it was much more resistance than passing a normal bougie when you're in the trachea.
Okay.
All right, folks, so there you go. What's the take home? The take home is I am no longer recommending hold up as part of the scalpel finger bougie technique as a confirmation method. And so instead, you'll just ride the bougie underneath the pad of your finger, make sure there's enough in that it's not going to pop out of the airway, and do not get hold up and do not use that as a confirmation technique for cricothyrotomy. Min, please don't take this to mean that we are in any way not recommending hold up for actual orotracheal intubation. I'm not going to re-enter that debate. In fact, if there was never another Twitter debate, I'd be a very happy man. But I'm so glad Twitter raised the possibility of bougie hold up not being appropriate for cricothyrotomy, and thank you to all the folks who entered that discussion. And I'd love to know what you think. And thanks to George and all his residents again. Scott Weingart, EMCrit We, saying bye-bye.
Hi, Dr. Weingart. There you go. All right, Scott.